Good. Let us continue. We talked about methods. Okay, methods can be a function or a procedure, right? If you take procedural language like C, say C or COBOL, right? There is nothing like a class. Everything is a set of functions. Okay, everything is a set of functions, but the sequence in which you call a function, okay, sequence in which you call these functions will be your ultimate program. Then let us take an example. Many times people would have seen something called sequence diagrams. Okay, a sequence diagram is what happens, what is the sequence of an activity inside the system, right? Now if you see a simple sequence, apply for a job, okay, this has to be done by an applicant. Okay, this is one of the activities that we need to do to achieve this functionality, right? What do we do, right? This is what we need to talk about. Sequence of operations. One set of sequence of operations will be how a user will do. Second thing, as the user does on the screen, what happens behind, right? That is another thing. Now let us talk about how a single user will do this from the UI. This is called use case. Use case meaning it is most of the requirements may be defined in this way. What the user will experience on the screen, what should be the system response. In between, how exactly it is done is the next step. For example, applicant goes to home page, okay, then applicant logs in, right? My profile page opens. This is the next sequence, right? Let me put systems response in a tabbed way. Applicant actions are here, system actions are here. Now once he logs in, then the profile page opens, then applicant navigates to jobs page. Okay, job page opens. Now applicant enters let us say XYZ and does a search for a job. Okay, now results of that search text shows up. Then applicant chooses the topmost job, right? Then applicant clicks apply for this job button, right? Then request goes to server, applicant gets a confirmation. This is how it will look on the screen and how the end user will do. Okay, this is called the use case. Use case meaning how a user of the system will be doing a particular activity or a sequence of operations and what happens. Some requirements will say simply line 1, applicant can search for a job. Requirement number 2, list of job for the search should be displayed in a single page with pagination. Requirement number 3, applicant can choose multiple job. it can just list everything in an Excel sheet. But if somebody tells like a story, okay, he goes there, this is where he enters, then it happens, right? If they are able to tell like a story, then people can understand and visualize the product much better. So many requirements may be written in this kind of a format. This is called use case format. Basically, it does what user does, then what system responds, right? Or how system responds, right? I would say what is the system's response. This is how use cases are written. But this is from the end user's perspective. But when it comes to design, of methods, right? Methods design, it should say how a logic is carried out in a program. In a program, how it is carried out. Okay. In what sequence this has been done. It is very simple. Okay. If you are able to do the design, class design and the list of activities, if you are able to write that part, after that, what class calls what method, if you are able to translate this thing, right, this use case into a set of calls, okay, method calls. Let me try to write the same thing. Okay, I'm going to write applicant, let me say this is the user side, or for example the UI login side and all. I'm going to omit. I'm going to take only from this place. Okay, applicant navigates to jobs page, because this is quite common for everybody, but navigating to the jobs page onwards, I'm going to write the design. Okay, now assuming that I am in the jobs page, okay, I'm in the profile page, right? Then what happens to the next step? I'm doing something called a navigate, right? So I'm going to say profile page dot redirect, okay, to, let me say again, this is not exactly a syntax of a code, okay, but it looks like a code. So from profile page, I am redirecting to jobs page, right? Now jobs page dot open, okay. If you look in some of the programming languages, they would have created some object. These are all the methods. It will look like verbs. As I said, keywords or the action words are going to be the methods. Go to the jobs page and then do open, right? Then now applicant is going to enter this XYZ and then does a search for a job, right? Now again, fetch results, because then somebody submits a search from the UI, I need to call to the server fetch results. Okay, now I have to say send request to server. Okay, but this is like English. In your program, you will write a method like send request to server, okay, right, dot fetch results. Within that you will pass parameter, okay, search text. Pass the parameter as what is the search text, right? Then jobs page dot display results, okay. This is almost same as what this use case is telling in English, but if I'm writing, this is an object and this is the method that someone has to do. Inside the display results, the programmer has to write some code, okay. Then once it is done, applicant chooses the topmost job, applicant clicks apply for the button, right? Then I would say jobs page dot apply for job. Within that job code, I pass this, right? Then again, send request to server. Send request to server, instead of fetch results, I would say apply for job. and then job code. If you see, this is written in English in the way it has to work, the sequence in which I have to do some activities. This is also very similar to what I have written, but it is using some class, some method, right? Then some parameters, right? This way people have to design, but this is not going to be in an easy task. Okay, Nagaraj, if you ask me how a developer can understand this kind of a sequence. As I said right in the first class, developers must have a good grip in the functionality. Second thing, what are the classes available? What are the methods available that should be given to the developer? Now, this is the first step. Step 1 is define the sequence of calls. Define the sequence of function calls. If you have taken C program, let me talk about C program, right? In C program, you would have got a main function, right? Then from this main function, you will call another function, say call function 1, then call function 2, then call function 3, right? In turn, that function 1 may call function 10, function 15, something like that. This is called how the main program is driven and how it goes to subsequent procedures and then come back. But who will give you F1 should be called first, F2 should be called next, F3 should be called next? It is the designer should say, first call this method, then call this method, then call this method, then call this method. He has to say like that. But how does he know which methods are available? From our yesterday's discussion, first we have to define what classes are available, what methods are available. Once you define that, then you define the sequence. The sequence is very simple. Sequencing of methods is extremely simple because if you know the use case, how exactly the activities must happen, then directly translate to that class dot that method. Is this clear? Defining the sequence of functions. Is this clear? Can you raise the hands? I see one hand raising, 4 hands raising. Okay, what about the others? Okay, now at least half the crowd is raising. Good. Now the crux is, hello, if I send the request to server, apply for the job, right? What the server should do, right? In the server side also, someone should write, right? Apply for the job, what database it should update, what logic it has to use. That is called a logic design. What happens inside apply for job function? Right now what we defined is call this function, but inside the function what happens? How exactly the things are stored, what exactly the response is sent, that is called logic design. Right now we simply define what method, what to call. It is like telling the way. If I have to give exact analogy, right? Tell me the route, right? From Delhi to Bombay, right? Then I can say from Delhi, go here, go there, go there, go there. I can simply say sequence of what places you have to visit, right? That is called this sequence design, okay? But from Delhi to Agra, exactly how I have to go, which road I have to take, right? Should I take a left there? Should I take a right there, right? In the signal, if there is a fork, should I take that left one or the right one, right? How exactly I have to travel, right? That part is called the logic design. The first step is from Delhi to Mumbai, I have to cross these cities, identifying a methods. That is the analogy. Second thing, what is the sequence in which I have to cross? Okay. from Delhi to go to this, next city is this, next city is this. Okay, I'm defining the sequence. Now going one step further, from city A to city B, how exactly I have to travel? There may be 2 or 3 different paths available. How exactly I have to go? That part is the logic design. This is also called pseudocode. This is also known as algorithm. How it is actually done. This portion is called pseudocode. Okay. But writing the pseudocode is the toughest part. How exactly it has to be done? Should I format this way? Should I format the other way? Should I insert into this table? Right? That is called logic design. That is the vital part in the design. Let us take an example. Okay. I'm going to say on the server side, apply for a job. How exactly it is handled, right? Then I have to write. Suppose I am giving you, I will give you this data. You have to handle this. Can you write a Java program to do that? If you know Java, if I explain you the logic, and if I explain you what data I will send it to you, can you write a Java? Suppose you know Java, you know C#, whatever, whichever language you are comfortable. Can you write a program? If you can, please raise the hands. A few people raise. Now, instead of asking you to write a Java program, right? First, I am going to say, right? Instead of writing it in Java, write it in English first. Show it to me whether your logic is right. Then I will tell you, right? So, who does this work, giving the pseudocode? It is the systems analyst. Business analyst is the one who gives you the specs, functional specification. Whereas, before even the developer starts coding in Java, we are going to say, hey, don't write any code arbitrarily the way you want. I am giving you the logic. Method name must be this. Parameter 1 must be this. Parameter 2 must be this, right? Don't deviate from the laid out instructions. But who gives this? Systems analyst is giving. Systems analyst is giving the logic in pure plain English. If that is done right, if the logic design is done right, all the programmer needs to do is, right? Again, I'm repeating, I'm giving a high stress on this. If logic design is done right, all the developer must do is to translate from English to Java. That's all. But the problem here is, okay, now whatever I'm telling in English, this can be translated to Hindi. This can be translated into Arabic. If you know Arabic and if you know English, from one language to another language, you can transfer. And you know the rules. Same way, if I write the logic in English very clearly and I give it to the programmer, all the programmer needs to do is convert that logic to Java or whatever programming language you do that. But the difficulty is, many systems analysts, the sad part is many systems analysts are not doing that thing. They orally tell, but they don't document in writing. Many to most of the people, they just tell the logic in English, oh, to do this, do this, do this, but they don't give it in the document. So what happens is, when you transmit something orally to some other person, almost 50% noise is introduced. That means the other person receiving it understands only 50%. The person understands and assumes so many things, so when he finally delivers something, it's not what you wanted. Unfortunately, the documentation part is not given the high importance there, but whichever company which has achieved high level of product quality, right? For example, if you take Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, Sun, Apple, Those product companies maintain extremely great logic document in terms of this pseudocode. Perfect. Since they followed it, that's why they are on the top. Many other companies do not do that. But when they do that, you can see the high level of efficiency in your coding part. Now let me show how a logic part will appear in pseudocode, right? Apply for, let me use underscore, apply for job. Okay. Now I'm going to say parameters needed. Okay. Now I say parameters are job code, applicant ID. Okay. These two are the only thing that I need as a parameter. The moment I know applicant ID and job code, I can apply for the job. The system can do that. Then what should I do, right? First thing, one of the standard rules is first, okay, first validate parameters. This is one of the standard stuff that we need to do. The parameter may be wrong. They might have sent a null, they might have sent a wrong job code, or applicant ID is maybe wrong, right? Then from the UI, they don't do proper validation and then send, server will have a problem, right? If job code is not active, right? Report back or say respond error message, job is not active. Okay, end if. Okay, I am writing in plain English. Okay, though I am using some construct like if, end if, just to note, I am saying if job code is not active, right? If applicant ID is not active, that means the administrator would have disabled the ID from applying for a job for various reasons. Then respond error message, your ID needs to be activated, contact admin. Okay, end if. Next thing, now we know at the server side applicant ID is also valid, job code is also valid. If the program comes to this level without having any problem in these two if conditions, what I need to do is I have to go and then update a record in a database, right? Now I'm going to say insert a new record in job applications table, right? With the values applicant ID, job ID, current date and time. If insert is successful, right, respond success message. Okay, end if insert says there is a duplicate, okay, that means this applicant has already applied for the job, then I would say respond error message, you already applied for this job. Okay, end if, right? End of the function. Now if you look at, let me just reduce the font size a little bit. Okay, you can see the whole function. This is a whole function starting from here to this. This is a pseudocode. Now just see the magic, right? I am writing everything in English what a programmer should do. So in this particular function, all the programmer needs to do is this. He should not go to any other table. He should not give any other if condition. He should not write a loop. This is a pseudocode. This is purely a definitely not a programming language. Now I can make it to look like a programming language. Okay. Now I'm just watch. Instead of the parameters, now I'm going to say parameters job code applicant ID, right? string message, response message. That means this function takes two parameters, returns a string as a response. I am putting an open brace, close brace, okay? Does it slightly look, instead of this insert statement, if I make an insert, actual insert, does it look like a programming Java code now? Do you agree? The moment I just change a few things here and there and then put an open brace, close brace, do you see that this looks like a programming language? Do you agree? Can you please raise the hands if you agree? The same thing I wrote in English, but I just changed a few delimiters and then punctuation marks, right? Same way, if I am able to write a pseudo code like this and then give it to a programmer, that guy can simply crack, right? If the job code is not active, right? Respond error message. All he will do is, right? He will simply say, I'm just converting this portion alone to a code, okay? If job code, job underscore dot status is not equal to 1. That means I'm saying it's insert the program, I'm saying it's not active. Then I'm going to say, okay, instead of this end if, I'm just making as open brace, close brace, okay. This is a comment. I will make this as a comment, okay. Now just watch. Instead of having a code like this, I would say response MSG equal to, okay, job is not active, okay, return response MSG. This is a pure programming language code and this can compile, right? Then I can always go ahead and then say, do some variable declarations over here. Instead of this insert statement, I'm just making it as a comment, and then I can always say insert into job applications values applicant ID, job ID, sysdate. This is the code, right? Usually in programming language, they will have something like execute SQL and then do this. This is a pure programming language syntax. This is a pure programming language syntax. But the same thing can be given in pseudo code like this. This is called logic design. This is called a program specification. This is called a program specification, not requirement specification. This is called program specification. This is not requirement specification. This is also called a low-level design. This is also called algorithm. This is also called a pseudocode. If your systems analyst is able to give this kind of a pseudocode to your programmer, programmer's job is just converting that pseudocode to Java or .NET or Perl or PHP. But how many companies have this kind of systems analyst in them? If they have, they will flourish. As simple as that. So if I have an experienced systems analyst who can do this kind of a pseudocode documentation in design, we can have a trained fresher get a super duper product developed by that developer. Developer need not even think at that point of time. The thinking process, breaking up of the modules and functions process, everything is done at a design level. One systems analyst can write good amount of design document that can be used by your developers. And you need not have a 5-year experienced developer. You can have even a trained 1-year experienced developer who can still deliver a world-class product. This is the crux of design. But the problem is Many people, they don't give stress to this. They orally tell, but when you transmit orally some information, 50% is grasped, rest of the 50% vaporize in air. So developers make a lot of mistakes in the logic. So how do you like this kind of a design? A detailed low-level design, what the program should do, how it should work. Is this clear? This is the actual method design. Inside the method, how it should work. This is the method design. The more you give stress to this kind of a design, better will be your control, better will be your clarity, better will be your quality. How many people are ready to do this kind of a meticulous work? Right? One person has asked, in the same way we can draw the flow diagrams also. Yes, true. If you are able to draw a flow chart, that is also fine. Because most of the time when it comes to complex applications, rather than writing a whole lot of text, people can even draw. Yes, that is definitely better. I have seen one company, which is a product company, I cannot disclose the name. The systems analyst simply writes with his hand. Okay, he writes on a paper, draws the flow chart, straight away scans and then sends to the people, because he feels rather than typing or using any other tool, his hand is much faster and quick and accurate in terms of doing that. He says drawing through a software or typing in a document is a waste of time for me. I can write, I can scan and then send it. And they are doing wonderful products. So if you want to come to this level, right, you have to practice. It is nothing rocket science, but only thing is meticulous work. Okay. So a systems analyst should know the functionality also very well. Systems analyst should know how to decompose the things from classes to methods. That person should know within the method what happens, right? Then what are the standard design patterns available, whether it's a singleton class, right? In Java, again, you can see MVC pattern, something like that, struts pattern. So they can understand all those things, then do that. So pseudo code, it is better to be given by the systems analyst so that the developers can simply change, right? Just change that programming pseudo code English language to programming language. But if you want the developer himself or herself to think of the logic, write it, obviously the problem is because of their lower understanding. That person may be 2-year experienced or 3-year experienced. Since they are not in a position to understand the bigger picture, they will make a lot of errors. It will lead to rework, bug fixing more. But if a senior person can write this and then give it, it is much better. So like Queen Bee, the systems analyst should keep on generating these design documents, and those documents can be the feeder for all the junior level programmers. It's the same trick in testing also. If you take an analogy of the testing, right? Most of the times testers themselves write test cases. But if a senior person can write a test scenario condition, right? Then it will always easy for the junior guys to execute that. One person has asked the question, to generate pseudo code, you should understand the whole project design. Yes, of course, whoever is doing the design, that person must have a very, very good grip in the whole project. If the person knows only half of it, then he may not know what is happening the other half. If there are dependencies, then it will be a problem, right? So the designing person should understand. So the pseudo code, basically the class design, method design, within that method, the pseudo code, everything is taken in the design phase, because whatever you're talking here, they're all done at design phase. Soon after requirement is done, design has to happen. In how many companies where you guys are working or not working, have you seen this kind of a meticulous documentation? And the clarity in which the programs are defined. How many people are using currently? If you are working, if you are currently using this kind of a good thing, can you raise your hands if you have done this kind of a thing? Yeah, I could see 2 hands raising. One person has responded as no, right? A few people have responded. Very, very few companies have this work culture. Yes, that's bad actually. They can get some, they can see quick results, but if you spend 1 extra day to create these documents and then go for coding, your understanding will go sky high. That is the key, right? Good. Any questions? Just to cover up today what we have seen, we went through use case. That means sequence of operations from the end user's perspective. That's a requirement side. But how the sequence of operation happen in the program level, that is called methods, sequence of calling the methods. Third thing, within the method, how the logic is implemented, right? That is called pseudo code or logic design or low level design. These 3 we have seen today. Again, hopefully by this weekend, I should be able to upload these webinars, recorded webinars, right? So you may not need this notepad because the whole webinar is going to be available over the web. Okay. Someone has asked how important is the programming language knowledge. See, systems analyst obviously to elevate to the systems analyst level, right? To draw the functional block diagram, you need not know a whole lot of system languages, but to come to the pseudocode level, definitely it is better to know programming languages. It's definitely required because it involves repetitions, if conditions, rules, SQL statements, right? So definitely we need to know. Someone has asked what are the tools provided by Rational and do we have webinars? Yes, we will try to have Rational tools also in terms of designs. We will try to arrange probably. Yeah, there is a suggestion box right on the home page of Open Mentor. Give your suggestions what kind of webinars you want for the next month. You can send it to that so that we can have those webinars planned for the subsequent months. By the way, how many of you have tried this Bull and Mag game in the Open Mentor site? Did anyone try? Okay. A few people definitely, yes. Good. Do you like it? Do you like the game? Yep. Yep. And again, to candidly say, during our when I was a school kid and college kid, right? During the class is on, right? We used to play this game silently with your benchmate. And it has helped in terms of developing a lot of vocabulary and permutation combination. So this is one game which is a non-intruding game, non-hurting game, which can help you in terms to learn permutation combinations, vocabulary, process of elimination, memory retention, all in one shot. Good. Any other questions in terms of design? Fine. I think people are in Friday mood. Okay. Someone has asked when design patterns are used before you start designing your classes. Okay. You have to apply the design patterns. Design pattern itself is a separate area, right? But again, it's like a template. Okay. Already people have done research on design. So what is the way in which you have to proceed in the design? That is what is going to be the design. So initially you understand the design patterns, then create class and method designs, then within how to call this method in what sequence, lastly the pseudo code. Okay, great. So we will stop here today. So the webinar of product design stops here. We would like to thank all the people. I could see people consistently coming to the webinar. We will try to upload this webinar, recorded webinar session in the portal over the weekend. Thanks. Good night and have a good weekend. Bye.